So what are the best socks for hunting? Well, there's a lot of options out there, and it really boils down to how you hunt. Are you a mobile hunter? Do you need something that's going to last you miles? Are you going to, guy that just walks out 200 yards to a stand off a field edge and you really don't go that far, but you need something that's going to take care of you when it gets really cold? There's a lot of different things that go in there, but in this video, I'm going to break down what I think are the best socks for bow hunting. I'm going to walk through why that is, and I'm going to give some options for early season, mid-season, and late season. And you can talk about, how that fits your style of hunting. And then I'm going to tell you how it fits mine. So let's jump into this. Hey, if you don't know me, my name's Mike, the Everyday Bow Hunter, owner of ArcherHunting.com, a retired U.S. Army Green Beret. And the one thing about being a retired U.S. Army Green Beret is, if you're not familiar with this, one of the things they really do to you as a Green Beret in Special Forces is the selection process. Even going through like Ranger School, when I went through Ranger School, is you put a really heavy pack on your back and you put some really shitty boots on your feet and you walk incredible amounts of distances. I think did a couple 100 miles in the selection course. The very last thing we do in selection is like a 25-mile road march with pack on your back. They just have you follow chem lights at night and you just keep going until you get to the end, and you don't know when the end's going to be because there's no mile markers, there's nothing. It's just you, the dark, and going. So your feet need to be able to handle just a tremendous amount of abuse. And changing socks, foot powder, just working your feet up to where they're just so hard and crusty it could take anything and wouldn't get blisters. So needless to say, I've been through the ringer over the years when it comes to socks and my boots and how that all fits together. And it is a fitting together process. They all kind of match together. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they are getting socks, especially when they get into the colder weather months, is they really stuff them into their boot, and they don't realize that they need to have airflow in their boot, and that will help them with the sweat and moisture management and keep them from having a lot of movement in their boots. So it's a fine line. It has to fit right. But the more compact you are in a boot, the worse off you're going to be. So you need to make sure it has just that fit where it's comfortable and not loose. And then you're on track, right? That's the first battle. Two, one of the biggest mistakes people make is wearing cotton socks. Cotton is literally the worst socking you can use for any kind of hiking, hunting, especially when you get into the colder weather months. Anything you want to keep yourself warm, cotton is the worst, because as soon as it gets wet from your sweat at all, or you just walk through a puddle and got water in your boot, you are just done, because cotton will not stay warm after it's wet. So anyway, I'll get off the cotton train. Now let's get to the best socks for hunting. And now for me, the thing that I look at is the properties of the sock, right? It has to, one, be good at moisture management, we talked about, right? It has to be really good at moisture management, and it has to be really good at thermoregulation after, that moisture management. So even when wet, it still thermoregulates. What does that mean? It means that if I'm really hot, that it's bleeding the air out, it's breathable, and it's allowing my foot to breathe, and I'm not overheating in my boots, right? And the same thing though is that when I need it to be warm, it stays warm, and it does keep the heat in. It keeps that heat retention in there. It thermoregulates and maintains that same heat as your foot, right? You want your feet to just maintain your body temperature. That's all we're looking for. We're not looking for, to jack the thermostat up and say, oh, we got, 100 degrees in there. No, we want it to be the same temperature as our feet and maintain that temperature. That's all we're asking for, right? And that's where thermoregulation comes in. Well, there's only certain materials out there that are good at that. I already told you cotton's not good. Well, the things that are good at it are Merino wool and alpaca wool, right? So those two are the kings. You've probably heard this before, right? It's no secret out there. Merino and alpaca are the two biggies on the block. There are some other materials, but not really used in socks that much, especially hunting socks. But when you look at the different hunting socks out there, there are different things like you have straight alpaca, you have straight merino, you have synthetic blends with both, and then you have some others on the market that are straight up synthetic type setups for socks that really don't use any merino wool at all. And I'm going to talk about one of those brands here as I go through this, but I'm going to show you a couple brands and go through exactly what I've discovered and which ones I think are the best, so you can make a better decision for you. So let's get into these brands. Okay, first off, I've tested a bunch of different stuff that I would not consider the best. Like I got these wigwams here. These are really, really extreme cold weather socks, but they are so bagged out. They really, really haven't held up for me at all. I have some redhead here, and I believe these are basically rebranded Smartwool socks. I think Smartwool made these for them. And I've used a lot of different socks over the years. I got a bunch of old Smartwool ones here. I got a bunch of old Smartwool ones here. I was big into Smartwool for a long time, but over the last couple years, I haven't just tested Smartwool. I've tested things like heat holders here. If you've ever heard of heat holder socks, these are acrylic based thick yarn socks. It has like nylon and elastane in these. These are all synthetic. There's no Merino or anything in these. I've used Wrightsock here for kind of hotter weather stuff, and for different kind of hiking and stuff. I've used the what I have here, Darn Tough socks, which are a combination. Depending on the sock, you can get straight merino socks with Darn Tough, or you can get ones like these here that are combination merino with like nylon and stuff in it to give it that additional elasticity and to keep it together better. And then I had a whole troop of merino socks here that were kind of like knockoffs that I got off of like Amazon. And then I tested out here. I have -33, really, really good sock, all merino. It has a little bit, I think, in this one here, I think has a little bit of nylon in there too to keep it together. I have this one, I keep forgetting the name is here. Altera. These Altera socks here, these are alpaca, and I believe they have a little bit of nylon in there because these have held up really well. And then I have hollow socks, which are your alpaca socks as well. Pretty expensive socks, but all alpaca socks here. And then I have some insect shield socks here that I use for kind of early season stuff to keep the bugs off me. So as you can see, I have a lot of socks here that I've tested over the last couple of years. I've worn the heck out of these socks, and I've learned some serious lessons. Now, one of the lessons I've learned is that when it comes to pure merino or pure alpaca, the problems that come with that is, one, they work great. They are really, really comfortable. They do great moisture management. They do great at thermal regulation. I don't have any problem with blisters. So they do a fantastic job with that stuff. What happens though is, for example, I have this, and it'd be hard to see on the camera, I'll try to zoom in on it. But this alpaca socks, as soon as I just put them, wash them in cold water and hang them, trying not to abuse them. Do not ever take a merino sock or an alpaca sock and put it through the dryer. That you're just asking to have it all tore up. Don't do it. Wash them in cold water. They're better off being hand washed, but even though I hand wash these, they're already fraying out everywhere. The alpaca is such a fine fiber, just like depending on the microns you get in a merino sock, they really end up kind of fraying out a lot. Let's see here, between the two pairs of alpacas that I was using last year, this one here I probably only wore once, and you can see it's already frayed out a little bit. Not much, not bad. This pair here, I wore a bunch because you can wear them multiple days, and that is the great thing about alpaca. You can wear these like 5-6 days in a row, and you won't have any smell. And that's the other thing with merino, is they're great. The inherent antimicrobial control inside of these things really keep the smell down on them, so you can wear them multiple days. So that's a fantastic property of these alpaca socks. But the negative on the alpaca socks is that the fraying starts to happen really, really early on in their use. And I really had a problem with my hollow socks falling down on me. They kept falling down on me. So while I believe this is a fantastic sock, and I think alpaca is the best material by far, I really think that if they start using a little bit of synthetic like nylon or elastane in there a little bit to kind of hold these together, especially at the tops, to keep them up and keep them from falling down, I think they'll do better. A fantastic sock, highly recommend it. It works great, kept my feet warm, did not have any problems with moisture management, works great. But, and I'll get more into moisture management for extreme cold weather here in a minute. But as far as in your, even in your like mid-season type things, you can wear the hollow sock, hunt sock, which these are. You can wear these through your mid-season into the late season, and that thermoregulation will keep your feet from sweating and getting just all tore up in them. So while Alpaca, what I say, is the #1 material out there that comes with its own inherent issues, right? So just be cognizant of that. Now, I talked about I keep forgetting, I said it already, Alteras. Now, the Altera alpaca socks I have here, you can see I wore these a couple days, and there's no fraying on these. This is one that has a mix of some nylon or elastane in them as well, and they are really, really solid, really, really good, and really, really warm and extremely comfortable. One of the better socks that I've tested for sure. But those are the 2 alpacas that I've tested. Now, across the alpaca socks that I've tested, the thing that I found is those socks are going to come with a hefty price tag. Probably your most expensive sock that I've tested across the board on this. So be cognizant of that. Okay. Next, I have the Merino. Now, the socks that I've tested quite a bit are -33 here. I have -33 Smartwool. You can see I have tested Smartwool like you wouldn't believe. I had these other ones, which I still have to look and see what they are, but they're Merino as well. And the thing about Merino is it does get kind of, over time, I found that it really starts breaking down a little bit and getting really, really bagged out, right? So what started off as a sock that fit really, really good, it started bagging out. So pure Merino, which this is pure Merino, does that. The same thing happens here with these starting to bag out. These were more of a mid-season sock here that I had, and they're bagging out on me. The ones that haven't bagged out on me are the -33s, and that's because they do have a little bit of synthetic stuff in them. The socks, over the calf socks that I've used here, have really worked out well for me with -33. And when it comes to a Merino sock, I used to say that Smartwool was the Merino sock for me, and I've now changed my mind, and I honestly believe that if you're going with a pure Merino sock, that you can do worse than to go with -33. -33 just puts together a great product, and they, not only with their socks, I've said this a million times in our podcast, not all Merino is created equal. They just do a better job, and I think it's about the micron level and the way they manufacture this and put this together is just different. They do a great job. At one point here, a little bit later in the season, I'm going to be going over some of the base layer stuff I have from -33, and they're just different. They're fantastic. They're going to spend a couple extra dollars for -33, but you're going to get something that's going to last a long time, and it's not going to be something that you regret later on. So anyway, I'll get off my horse for that. Now, the next one I have here is definitely along the same lines as -33, but it's called Darn Tough, and they have a combination in their socks of the nylon and elastane and stuff with the Merino to make a great combination sock. And I honestly think, while I love the -33, I think -33 is fantastic. The Darn Tough socks are just a step above as far as overall quality and toughness. One of the things that I'm going to talk about here in a minute when I get into cold weather stuff is some of the things that you can do with these socks to really, really enhance their ability. But the thing that I think stands out about the Darn Tough is, you can see here I wore these like 5 or 6 times last year, and they still look new. These socks still look new. Even the ones I think I used these even more, which you can see the worn in of them is my just my hikers for when I'm wearing my hiking boots. I wear the over the calf socks when I'm wearing like my rubber boots, right? So they just do a great job. I did not have a problem with them falling down. I did not have a problem with the -33s falling down. My Smartwools held up really good over time, but like I said, they really have bagged out on me. And which one? I believe it's this one. This set here, I only had at the beginning of the year last year. Only wore them a handful of times, but I washed them like twice because of the way I had been hunting and really sweated up in them, and they bagged out on me right away. So I was kind of disappointed with that. And I don't know what the deal is with Smartwool, but they used to be, like I said, they were my #1 sock for a lot of years. Still a great sock, but not as good as they used to be. So anyway, the last socks I'm going to talk about here are heat holders, and heat holders are a different kind of sock because these are an acrylic yarn based sock, right? So all really synthetic stuff, elastane, nylon, something else in here in the heat holder socks. And these socks are all probably priced just a little bit lower than your Merinos and your Alpaca socks. So they not quite as expensive, but they are extremely warm sock. But the thing about heat holder socks, which I only really wear these for extreme cold, because these are probably, I'm going to say, these heat holder socks are probably 20% warmer, probably 20% warmer than all these other socks. Fantastically warm. Heat holder socks are some of the warmest socks I've ever worn. For talk about extreme cold weather, they are extremely warm. The biggest issue though with heat holder socks, and the reason why I would not call these the best sock for hunting, I would call them the best sock for stationary hunting. If you have to walk any kind of distance, if you're going to sweat, if your feet are going to sweat at all, do not use these because you will freeze in them, right? Because as soon as your feet are wet, these will not manage moisture at all. They are terrible with moisture management, unbelievably bad with it. It's because it's acrylic, thick yarn acrylic socks, right? It is not going to do a good job with moisture management. If you are just a person that rides a four-wheeler out, walks 200 yards and gets into a stand, and that's all you do, you go out to a rifle hut spot or whatever, then heat holder socks are your best friend. These are fantastic at keeping you warm in stationary hunt situations, right? And I did wear them for that kind of stuff where I didn't have to walk very far last year, and every time I wear them, I'm just amazed at how warm these damn socks are, and they're not that bad a price at all. Now, when it comes to, as far as any other time of year hunting, when you're talking about early season hunting, I do recommend Wrightsock for keeping cool. They're great at managing blisters, keeping you from having blisters, I should say, and extremely comfortable, extremely breathable, and they hold up extremely well. So Wrightsock is great for your early season stuff. I am just a fan of the insect shield socks for that too, like I said, as far as that goes. But if you want something that's going to, handle moisture well, and it's going to do all those things we talked about and just be extremely reliable, you can go with the Wrightsock, or like the thinner versions here of, I don't have it for -33 here, but for Darn Tough, their thinner Merino combination sock here is fantastic for the early season as well. Great for that as far as moisture management and getting it off of you and just allowing you to breathe in those hot weather conditions. It's great for that. You can wear thicker socks for that, but I wouldn't do it. You think your Alpaca socks, any of those, when you get into kind of the mid-season where you're high, you might hit 70 degrees, 65, 70 degrees during the day. You're good with almost any of these socks because of the thermoregulation in them that I talked about, except for your heat holders, of course. So you're good with that. Now, when it comes to extreme cold weather, what I do personally that is great at moisture management, because if you do long hikes like I do to a spot, you want to understand that as soon as your feet sweat and are wet, that's just, you're asking to be cold. I don't care what sock you're wearing. If your sock is wet, you're going to be cold. Now, if you can get the water off your feet and then have a second layer of socks on you, that's great. And let's go back to these thin socks from Darn Tough that I wore last year. I wore these with my heavier Darn Tough socks over top in a double layer. I did it with the going extreme cold. I did the -33s here as my base layer, and I put these over top of it into my rubber boots, and that double layer, getting the sweat off of my feet through that, and then having the warmth of the second layer on there, worked out great. Of course, like I said, you have to have boots that work with that are sized up to handle the bigger, thicker socks. Otherwise, if you're stuffed in there, your feet are going to be cold. But all right, I went over a lot of different socks here, and none of these that I've talked about are a bad sock, right? I don't think there's a bad sock here, but I talked about the different properties of each, what they can do, what they can't do, and how they can help you out in the long run, right? So highly recommend you look and compare the different prices for each one, see if it fits your budget. But the number one differentiator of all these socks, the thing that sets only one of these socks apart from the other as the best socks for hunters, is that Darn Tough is the only one that has a unconditional lifetime warranty on them. A lifetime warranty on the socks. So let's say, for example, that I tear all these socks up this year. Every single one of them has holes in it. I've used the heck out of them. I threw them in the washer. I didn't listen to the directions. I throw them in the washer. I put them in the dryer. I beat them all up. Now I have holes all over them and they're all tore up. Well, so you can take these, you can package them all up, and you can ship them with the lowest U.S. Postal Service ground advantage shipping rate there is, $6.50, $8, whatever it is. You can put it all together and you can ship it back to Darn Tough, and they will send you brand new replacement socks for all of them for free. There is no other sock here that's going to do that. So that's what really sets them apart. And that's why I say that the Darn Toughs, with their the fact that they really don't fall down on you as much as some others, although like I said, the -33s are really there. And I told you about the heat holders being exceptionally warm. So the Darn Toughs are really warm. They really hold up good. But like I said, they also come with a warranty that can't be beat by anybody. Unless there's something else out there that I have yet to discover, please put it in the comments. Let me know, and I'll go back and revisit it and test them out too. But after that, guys, all I wanted you to do now is go down in the comments, give me your comments, see what you agree with me, don't agree with me, ask questions, whatever, and tell me what you think the best sock for hunting is. So until then, that's really all I've got. I will see you next time.